Our presidential contenders series continues tonight with South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. The senator's out with a new book. It's called My Story. But his signature issue is a familiar one. My colleague Bret Baier has that story tonight.
I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for President of the United States.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham doesn't sugarcoat it. He's running for president to protect the country.
At the end of the day, the next president needs to do two things. Take the fight to radical Islam in a more effective way, reassure the world we're back, be a good friend and a better adversary, and solve problems here at home.
Act like you're having a good time. Good to see you.
And when he's campaigning, he insists people constantly tell him they're worried about national security.
I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan over 30 times, and the war is not going well. President Bush made some adjustments. He was smart enough to change his policies. President Obama is too stubborn and arrogant, in my view, to change his policies, and is putting this country at risk because what he's doing is failing.
So for people out there who say, come on, this is hitting us with fear, this is drawing us into more wars, we've been down this road before, what do you say to them?
Well, if you think I'm trying to scare you, I'm not. I'm trying to inform you of what awaits this nation. I've come to conclude this is a religious war. These are religious Nazis. If you don't take their agenda seriously, you'll pay a price. The likelihood of an attack on our homeland is greater than any time I've seen since 9/11. It was a result of leaving Iraq too soon, pulling all troops out. If you don't take this threat seriously as the next president, you're making a huge mistake. They're not 10 feet tall. We win, they lose, but this strategy is not going to lead to the degrading and destroying of ISIL. It's going to take more troops over there. So if you're looking for a commander-in-chief to tell you this will be easy, I am not your guy. I do not offer you a disengagement strategy.
But do you offer war?
I offer defeating the enemy who's at war with us.
Which means deploying thousands and thousands of troops.
We need about 10,000 in Afghanistan. We need 10,000 troops in Iraq, according to General Keane, to change the tide of battle. And if we don't up our game and increase the number of troops in Iraq, we'll never get it right. We have no plan in Syria at all.
Okay, so you have 10,000 in Afghanistan, 10,000 in Iraq, and what is the plan in Syria?
To get a regional army of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and all the Gulf states. They would form the bulk of the army, but we'd need about 10,000, according to the experts that I rely upon.
So now you're at 10,000 in Afghanistan, 10,000 in Iraq, 10,000 in Syria.
And when it comes to protecting you and your family, whatever it takes, as long as it takes. I can tell you what President Obama is not working. It will never work. I am sorry to say that we're going to have to go back, in my view, to recapture ground we once held.
Senator, what you're describing is a never-ending war.
No, the war will end one day, and here's how you win it. You have to provide security to the people in the region. But at the end of the day, radical Islam's worst nightmare is a remote school, a schoolhouse in a remote region educating a young girl. This is a generational struggle. I'm not going to outsource our security to a bunch of armies that can't even protect themselves. If I didn't believe that this was a threat to our homeland, I wouldn't feel this passionate. It is not their war, it is our war. It is a war against humanity.
Graham has military experience, serving as a judge advocate in the U.S. Air Force, and then colonel in the U.S. Air Force Reserves. Graham was elected to Congress in 1995.
Let me tell you my experience and what I bring to the debate.
4 years later, was appointed as a House manager for the Clinton impeachment proceedings.
Where I come from, you call somebody at 2:30 in the morning, you're up to no good.
He succeeded longtime Senator Strom Thurmond in 2003 to become South Carolina's first newly elected senator in nearly 40 years. He has a close relationship with Senator John McCain and became a national co-chairman for McCain's failed presidential campaign. Analysts seem to agree Graham has an uphill climb to the 2016 nomination.
It's difficult to see where he gets his votes from. The great advantage for Lindsey Graham is that it is currently appearing as though foreign policy is going to be a much more major issue in 2016 than it was in 2012. And that's one of Lindsey Graham's strong suits, military and foreign policy. He's also from one of the early states, South Carolina, and there will be some tendency to support him as a favorite son, though I think there's also a great danger for him that he could lose that primary.
This is a turning point in the war on terror.
Graham is a known figure. He probably has more Sunday show and cable show appearances than many GOP candidates combined. But is he in it to win it? The critics say you are a one-note song, and that you're not in it to win it, and that this is running a message campaign rather than running to win the presidency.
Yeah, I've got more than one song. Here's what I tell every audience in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. For America, there are three challenges we've got to face. Too many terrorists, too much debt, and too few jobs. You have to do something like Simpson Bowles. So I'm good to go on making sure that we have a sound, strong economy, and you cannot fix our economy unless you deal with the retirement of the baby boomers, and that requires two things: adjusting entitlements and flattening out the tax code, and replacing the baby boomers.
So when you hear Mike Huckabee say, don't touch Social Security, not just no, but hell no.
Well, I like Mike Huckabee, but you're destroying Social Security. Let me tell you about Lindsey Graham and Social Security. When I was 21, my mom died. She had Hodgkin's disease. We got wiped out by those bills. I know what it's like to be underinsured. 15 months later, my dad died. My sister's 13. If it wasn't for Social Security survivor benefits coming into my family because my sister was a minor, we'd had a hard time paying the bills. I'm 59, I'm not married. I would give up some future benefits to make sure that Social Security was there for the people who need it the most. There is no way in hell that you can save Medicare and Social Security unless you ask younger workers to work a little longer and people in my income level to give up some benefits.
Graham bucks much of his party on immigration. Do you think you can win a primary with your stance on supporting comprehensive immigration reform?
Absolutely. I think there's no other way to do it. I had a six-way primary. I was called Lindsey Grahamnesty. Since 2006, starting with President Bush, I've been trying to solve this problem.
And on climate change.
I think it's real. When 90% of the climatologists tell you that CO2 emissions are affecting greenhouse gas effect, I have no reason to believe they're all wrong. I think that the science is pretty sound, but the solution that Al Gore presents to us is a disaster. The way you deal with the environment doesn't mean you have to destroy the economy.
But he's also been a leading figure challenging Hillary Clinton on Benghazi.
At the end of the day, if I'm the nominee, I'm going to ask her face to face, how could you not know about their additional security request? What did you do for 9 hours when they needed you the most? And what did you do after the fact? How could you tell the families when the bodies came home, we're going to get the guy who made that video? There's not any evidence at all of a protest caused by video, and she empowered what I think was a false narrative. The closest thing she's ever done in her life to be Commander-in-Chief was Secretary of State, and on her watch, she allowed Benghazi to be a death trap.
Graham's personal life has been the subject of a few articles recently. You know, a lot of people looked at this interview you gave recently. You said we could have a rotating first lady.
Yeah. You know, I'm not married. I'd be the second president not married. And here's what I don't offer: Camelot. Yeah, I don't offer glamour and glitz. If you're looking for Camelot, glamour, and glitz, I'm the last guy.
Were you ever close to being married?
Once. Yeah, once. But, you know, I'm 60. Life is what it is. You know, I can't answer all the mysteries of life, but I feel good about Lindsey Graham.
You know, one of the things is reaching out to young people.
Yeah.
You don't email.
No, I don't.
You've never emailed.
I've never sent an email, but I think I'm a very informed senator. We're not going to beat ISIL by emailing them. We're going to have to airmail them and go in there on the ground and pull them out. Here's what I advise the next president. You shouldn't email either. They've hacked into President Obama's personal account, most likely hacked into the Secretary of State's email account. Given the threats we face and the cyber attacks on this country, my advice to the next president is not email.
And when it comes to a lack of chips on Special Reports candidate casino?
So the people who have put chips on Lindsey Graham are going to be seen in hindsight as very smart poker players.
But you can picture yourself behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office.
I wouldn't be doing this. I'm not doing it for my health. I'm doing it because I have something to offer my party and my nation. There would be times where my candidacy wouldn't make that much sense, but in this time, it makes a hell of a lot of sense.